Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good day, goeiedag molwene, and welcome to our Women's Wellness series on Life Matters. Today we're exploring a critical aspect of women's health, weight gain. So I'd like you to join us in this conversation. Don't forget to interact with us on our WhatsApp line or our social media pages. And joining me today as I interview Dr. Raeesa Aboobaker, a homeopathic doctor with expertise in women's health. Last we spoke about heavy bleeding or menopause, which definitely I learned from, and it turned to be quite a responsive show. So thanks so much, shukran, jazakumullah khair, to everyone that interacted. That's how we like to have you interact with us. So let us know your thoughts, comments, and questions and queries around the shows that we have and that you would commonly like to hear about as well. Today, we'll delve into the physical, emotional, and hormonal factors that contribute to weight gain in women and explore how homeopathy offers a holistic approach to addressing this complex issue. Now, let's gain some insight and inspiration from Dr. Raeesa's expertise and welcome her back to the show. Assalamu alaikum and welcome, Dr. Raeesa.
Walaikum salam. Jazakallah for having me on your show again, Khawat. Jazakallah for having me on all of your shows. In fact, I've seen women progress very well from just interacting with you.
Alhamdulillah, which is what we want. We want women to get the help that they need. So let's look at some of the common causes. This is a conversation that 9 out of 10 women have. 9.5 out of 10 women have. About the causes, the common causes of weight gain in women, and how do they differ from those in men?
So, first off, I'd like to say that women who come to see us for weight loss have already tried everything else and have not progressed well or have regained the weight that they've lost. And we see patients that have come in with disorders causing weight gain. And I think it's also important to understand that the physiology between male and female is so different. And women find it more complicated and difficult to lose weight because of their female reproductive system. So what sets us apart from men in terms of conditions that can cause weight gain would be things like polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, menopause. Men can't suffer from these conditions. There are also conditions that are between men and women that cause weight gain more rapidly in females, like insulin resistance, thyroid dysfunction. We have way more female patients suffering with thyroid dysfunction than male patients. And then changes in cortisol as well. So cortisol, women are more sensitive to the hormone cortisol than men are. And then also, if you look at our genetic makeup and our physiology, and we look at how much muscle men have and how much muscle females have, and we look at then the hormones that men produce more of than females, men naturally have more testosterone, and females naturally have less testosterone. Less testosterone means also less DHEA. And then this is the reason why men have a higher metabolism, born naturally with more muscle than we have.
Okay, Dr. Raeesa, we lost you a little bit when you spoke about the testosterone and the hormones that the males and the females have and differ from. Could you just repeat that again to us?
So just the part about the testosterone.
Yes.
Okay, so in our genetic makeup and in our body structure, men are naturally born with more muscle and more testosterone than female has. So testosterone in itself, in a female patient who is low in DHEA and has low testosterone, she'll find it more difficult to lose weight because it will be more difficult for her body to build muscle, meaning that she will have a slower metabolism.
So hormones definitely play a role in weight gain in women. Let's look at the thyroid hormone and cortisol hormone that that women particularly have an issue with. How does that impact their life with regards to weight gain?
So in terms of thyroid hormone specifically, your thyroid gland is situated here around the neck region. It communicates with every single cell in your body, which means basically every single cell has a thyroid receptor. If your thyroid gland is not working properly or there's a dysfunction in the communication, then the metabolism of your body and the cell metabolism itself is not going to function normally. When you look at cortisol, what is cortisol responsible for in the body? It is responsible for fat and carbohydrate metabolism. If you've been a patient who is chronically stressed and you have elevated cortisol every day, you go through stressful things, whether it's your work, your house life, your emotions, that's going to interrupt your fat and carbohydrate metabolism. And instead of making fuel from that fat and carbohydrates that you may be consuming, your body is going to now go into survival mode and start storing all of that as fat. And then you're going to find it difficult to lose weight. But specifically, we're talking about areas around the face, like the chin area, the neck, the back of the neck, and the tummy. So more upper body weight gain we see in those patients. When it comes to thyroid, moving back to that region, when patients have a genetic tendency towards thyroid dysfunction, we find that their weight gain is more on the hips, the buttocks, and the thighs. So it's very easy to, as soon as a patient walks in, you can already look at their physique, and it guides us into which blood tests need to be done to look for conditions that cause weight gain in these patients. But specifically when it comes to thyroid dysfunction and cortisol, they work it's a negative process that's happening, because a patient who has high cortisol because they're stressed, or a patient who has weight gain because they have a thyroid issue, they also perceive stress on a higher level. So if we as healthy, normal functioning human beings have a 3 out of 10 stress, a cortisol in a thyroid patient is going to experience that same stress as a 9 out of 10. So it's going to affect them more severely and then lead to further putting the body into survival mode. So survival mode, your body says, I don't need to lose weight, I need to survive. So it's going to start hoarding all of the food. And even if they don't eat, they tend to gain weight.
Okay, so they definitely sound there's some emotional attachment to that condition. Let's look at the emotional and mental health factors such as stress and anxiety as well that contribute to weight gain in women. Specifically, you've mentioned the thyroid, but other conditions as well.
Yeah. So usually in my office, whenever we have patients coming in for weight gain, well, most of the time we have patients coming in because they're struggling to lose weight.
Yeah.
I have a box of tissues on my desk because they are definitely going to cry. They are going to be super emotional.
Sure.
And the more emotional they are, it tends to bring on cravings for some dopamine release or some serotonin release. So we end up eating foods like chocolate or buttered bread. So it depends on your cravings. Specifically, you may not be a sweet person, you may be a savory person, and that's the one that will go for the buttered bread or the savories. And then you'd have somebody else who has more of a sweet tooth and will look for some ice cream. I mean, we all grew up watching programs where, if there was somebody depressed in the TV show, they would eat from a tub of ice cream. So that is because we're trying to release feel-good hormones in the body.
Yeah.
Also, remember, if you are very stressed out, and you have poor sleeping patterns, that can also impact on your hormones. So, for example, new mothers, this is in the normal physiology. A new mother is stressed out because she's a new mother. She's also not sleeping because her baby wakes up every few hours. So, and she's breastfeeding, so her prolactin levels are higher. But if you're not a new mother, not breastfeeding, you didn't just recently give birth, you also have poor sleeping habits because you can't fall asleep for whatever reason. Sometimes it's nutrient deficiencies. Sometimes it's more pathological or a disorder of the hormones. And you're very stressed out. Your prolactin naturally increases. So you would also then suffer with the symptoms that breastfeeding moms may suffer from, which is weight gain. In the past, we used to think breastfeeding moms, it's so easy to lose weight if you're breastfeeding. Let me tell you, that is the biggest myth ever. Yes, you may expend more calories, but in this day and age when everything is so instant, there's instant messaging, there's instant emails, there's instant shopping online, things happen at a very fast pace. And this itself can cause us to have more cortisol or be more stressed out, cause us to have less sleep because we can just order things online or we're sitting on our phones all night, and then naturally lead to that increase in prolactin, naturally causing us to hold on to more weight because our body thinks that it wants to provide for an infant.
And if I remember going back to breastfeeding days, you're actually hungry all the time and you want to eat. And like you're saying, the weight that you are gaining just stays there, but then you're also eating the wrong things. So just, order the quick meals, but the right stuff to order. Dr. Raeesa, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at...
so.
Sorry about that. We do apologize for the breaking connections, the bad connection as well. We're working on that. Some gremlins in the system or just actual connections. But we'll talk more with Dr. Raeesa just after the short break. Symptoms, some possible solutions around weight gain, and also we need to understand it. So if we understand our body, we can give it what it needs. More just after the short break. Stay with us. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. This is Life Matters in our Women's Health series. We chat about weight gain. As I said, 9 out of 10 women. But you know what? I rethought about that. It's 11 out of 10 women that talk about weight gain and have weight gain issues. Let us know what your weight gain issues are or trying to lose weight issues are. We could have a follow-up show with Dr. Raeesa as well and discuss, your interactions, your common questions and queries around weight gain or trying to lose weight. We have homeopathic doctor and women's wellness doctor as well, Dr. Raeesa Aboobaker from KZN. She does also consult in Johannesburg, so we will put up her details a little bit later on. You can connect with her either via Durban or Johannesburg or online. So Dr. Raeesa, just before the break, we spoke about emotional and mental conditions and how that affect women. What would you say, are there any causes for this mental, for these emotional cravings? Because we think we're hungry, we think we might need, a quick sugar spike, and then we maybe go for the wrong things. We don't do the sugar items that are good for us. But what exactly are the causes of those emotional cravings?
So if we look again at cortisol and what its function is physiologically in the body, cortisol, we said, was responsible for carbohydrates and fat metabolism. And now pathologically, when it's been too high for too long or on the decline, then we are going to find that our cravings and appetite increase because of the relationship between cortisol and insulin. So when you have insulin resistance or high insulin levels, your appetite is bigger. You store weight faster, and that is the relationship between cortisol and insulin. But the type of cravings you're going to have is not only just an increased appetite. You're going to look for salty things. You're going to look for sweet things, for sour foods. You're going to look for fatty foods. Fatty foods doesn't just mean you're looking for oily foods. It can be a carb-fat combination. Like we said, ice cream. What is ice cream? It's not just a carb. It's a carb-fat combination. It's a fatty food at the end of the day. It's made with fresh cream. So these are the important things we need to understand, that sometimes a patient's craving, or specifically what they're craving, can give us an indication as to what's going on underneath the body. Okay. It's not something we take note of, but when a patient comes in and says to me, I crave just in the evening, I just want to have some buttered bread and tea. That is a symptom for us, it's a specific symptom. Or a patient says to us, I just need to eat, I just nibble on China fruit. So that small innocent China fruit is telling us a whole more about the patient than just simply them having a snack at the end of the day. It can also lead to other symptoms like water retention because it's a salty craving. But we want to treat why are they having that salty craving. And with homeopathy, we can do that. We can treat specific things like a sour or sweet or salty or spicy or fatty craving.
And I know we should have the homeopathy show, which will come very, very soon. Because for me, just from time to time, seeing a homeopath, I'm amazed at how well it works when it looks at, are you having a fever? Is your face red? Are you thirsty? It differs from those just, feeling heated up, which will give you a different remedy. But more on that, and definitely having a follow-up show would enhance everybody's understanding how well it works. But let's look at the symptoms. You've mentioned some of the symptoms. and understanding what you're craving at certain times of the night, and specifically salt or sugar. What are some collateral symptoms that women with weight gain may experience, such as fatigue? There's the bloating, there's the mood swings. I mean, we have touched on emotional, but what about those physical, manifestations?
So I think when it comes to, like you said, the physical, patients with weight gain often suffer with pigmentation. So the pigmentation is on their skin, around their neck. It's referred to as acanthosis nigricans. We have young children coming in, like teenagers, where their parents say, "I'm not sure why, but my child has very dark underarms." Or somebody in the adulthood would say, I've found there's a lot of pigmentation around the groin area. But usually in school-going kids and in people with Asian skin, we see more of the acanthosis. And then those who are more light-skinned, we find that they come in complaining about skin tags and they want to come in for skin tag removal. But we don't just want to treat the pigmentation and the skin tags. We want to treat what's causing that. And usually these patients are overweight as well. It's not their fault that they're overweight. Sometimes it's not what they're eating. I mean, many females tell us they eat one piece of chicken in their meal and they still are not losing weight. Other symptoms can be like, as you grow, then you find patients who are now married and trying to have children. The obesity is impacting on their fertility, or what's causing the obesity is also impacting on their fertility. So a patient with polycystic ovarian syndrome or hypothyroidism, those conditions, they can cause weight gain. And when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, it can also be the other way around, where it's not just weight gain causing it, weight gain can make it worse. So definitely fertility is a big one for us. In menopausal patients, we see that the pigmentation is more centrally located around the cheek. And then they are like age spots that start to coalesce and get into a bigger form. And then we have our thyroid patients, which is a little bit more lateral to that. And then we have our patients with insulin resistance coming in with pigmentation around the side of their face, like shadows. So this is both for men and women. And then what about their breathing? We have many patients who say at night they suffer with sleep apnea, or they snore, or, it becomes difficult for their spouse as well. Or for younger kids who don't want to have sleepovers because they're afraid of what everyone else is going to say if they hear them snoring, because of how the weight gain affects their breathing. And then also just the morale in general for a patient who's overweight. It's really rare that you will see a patient who is overweight saying, "No, I'm comfortable with how I am," because they are not comfortable. We've all been on some kind of weight loss journey, except for those who are naturally blessed with a very good metabolism, or those who are born with very low muscle mass and very low body fat. And those are patients who say to us, "I'm trying to gain weight." They also have a big struggle. Yeah. But I remember when I was overweight, it was really difficult for me to carry around that excess 10 kilos. You would have joint pain, your skin wouldn't look good, you're more prone to pimples, you perspire more, and you're not comfortable in your skin. It affects your confidence, it affects your morale. So there's a big connection between weight gain and our emotions. And I think for females also, because we can rapidly gain weight, it's not easy to deal with something like that emotionally.
And as you get older, your body changes, so you have to adjust to that. Let's talk about homeopathy. How does homeopathy approach weight gain in women? And what treatments do you find most effective? And also just explain the process, because you said you talk to these women, they come in, and you have a thorough conversation and look at the symptoms of, their cravings and how they're feeling. Let's take us through that.
So remember, with homeopathy, we're looking at treating the patient as a whole. We are connected in structure and in function. One organ can't function without the other organ. If we are lacking one hormone, it's going to affect other hormones in the body. So when we have patients coming in, we have to remember also that we're seeing patients from birth. We see kids for colic from birth. We see women who are postmenopausal. And I think it's important to understand where they are in their growth spectrum of life. So our youngest patient who came to us is 4 years old.
Sure.
And this patient, I'm talking specifically about weight-related issues. So the youngest weight loss patient we've had, was 4 years old. How do you talk to a 4-year-old about their diet? You can't, and you should not speak to the 4-year-old about her diet, because it is really going to psychologically impact on that child for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So what we do is we look at what are the potential causes for weight gain in this child. Just like in homeopathy, we are treating the root cause of disease. And we also look at whether she or he has a genetic tendency to weight gain, which we can treat using homeopathy, because we also look at the patient's physique. So, for example, the homeopathic remedy Cilicia is usually indicated in patients who are very thin, tall, and pale looking. But also they have they perspire a lot, for example. And then we have patients whose physique is short, round, perspire a lot, also maybe a lot on the face. But because of their shape, their body structure, the better remedy for the short and rounder one would be Calcarea carbonica. And the benefit of using homeopathy is that in a case like a 4-year-old child, you cannot, even if that child has insulin resistance, you cannot now put chemicals into a 4-year-old or drugs into a 4-year-old child from the age of 4 until when? When would it stop? When would the use of metformin or glucophage stop for that child? Because there are long-term effects. So using homeopathy, we can help treat that insulin resistance, so it's safe. I just want to touch on something quickly when it comes to age. When it comes to young kids, not every 4-year-old is suffering with insulin resistance. So we are able to measure whether that patient has just baby fat, or does the patient have visceral and dangerous fat. So we use bioimpedance analysis to check on the patient's body composition. So this is where we get a breakdown of the patient's muscle, fat, water levels, and what their bones weigh. People say you have heavy bones. It's not weight, it's just heavy bones. We're able to measure what the bone mass is as well. And that tells us, okay, this is how we should be treating the kid. This kid is not insulin resistant, or potentially is. It's just baby fat, going to fall off with time. We can reanalyze in a year. But if it's a patient who has dangerous visceral fat, then we know, the best thing for this child is to do a blood test, or let's start treating them. And also in young kids, it's easier to use homeopathic medicine because it tastes nice. It doesn't have a vile or sour or bitter taste.
Little sugar pills.
Yes, definitely. And then when it comes to older children, or maybe young females, we also know that a lot of the obese females that come in are struggling with fertility. And we need to make sure that our treatment is safe for when they fall pregnant. Because if we're going to lose weight and we're going to balance hormones, then that patient will find it easier to conceive. So we definitely want to put them on treatment that's not going to affect the fetus negatively. So we always ask these questions about whether you're on any contraception, are you trying to fall pregnant? And many a times we have patients who are coming to see us for fertility, but we need to discuss their diet as well. So definitely using homeopathy means you're getting long-term results with less side effects. And we don't only use homeopathy, we use functional medicine, meaning we use nutritional medicine, we use herbal medicine, we use Ayurvedic medicine, even Chinese medicine. So I incorporate all of those modalities into my treatment method, depending on what the patient needs specifically.
Yeah, so a holistic approach finally for weight loss, and that is available. So we'll talk more with Dr. Raeesa Aboobaker just after the short break on some of the lifestyle changes that you can also implement, because it's also about you and what's happening around you, addressing the emotional, psychological aspects of weight gain in the treatment of homeopathy just after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back to our Women's Wellness series as we look at weight gain in Life Matters. And we continue our Women's Wellness series. Please do interact with us. We love how you make the show. So tell us what you'd like to watch, what you'd like to hear, what you'd like to see. And also for any contact details of our guest, you can follow our social media pages as well. So don't forget that within understanding weight gain or any conditions, there are holistic approaches. And just before the break, Dr. Raeesa expressed a case study of a 4-year-old success story and looking at it holistically and in a manner that could not harm the person. So, Dr. Raeesa, I want to look at, and something that you've mentioned, lifestyle changes and dietary recommendations. Does that come up within your consultations? How do you approach that? What do you suggest for women struggling with weight gain?
Definitely. We definitely talk about lifestyle and dietary changes. We don't put patients on diets. We try to tailor make their plans to suit them better. And I also like to tell patients, this is a guideline I'm giving you, but I want you to make your own menu plan for the week and share it with me so that we can modify it to be more suitable for the health condition that you have. When it comes to lifestyle changes and what we can do, lifestyle changes is not just about exercise. It's about stress management and helping that patient find better ways to manage what's going on in their lives. We can't take stress away. We know that. We can't tell people to quit their jobs or leave their families. Just being a mother is quite stressful because you're not worried just about what your kids are going to eat or what time to pick them up from school. You're worried about their survival. You are responsible for that human being. It is really stressful. So management of stress is important and how we perceive stress. And we have to understand and realize that patients with hormonal conditions, underlying conditions, will experience stress on a higher level. And it's important to discuss that with the family as well. So generally, I've had a few times when a patient said, hang on, can I please call my husband in so you can explain that to him because he doesn't understand. And also, when it comes to lifestyle, like I said, not just exercise, it's also about how much rest you get.
Okay.
So there's 5 pillars in weight loss, and I think just to go over them quickly, the first one would be your eating. The second one is what you drink. The third one is exercise. The fourth one is rest. So that's how important it is. It's one of the 5 pillars of weight loss. And then the fifth one being balance your hormones. Sometimes patients can't help it. They just can't sleep well. And instead of giving them a sleeping tablet, we look at the cause of what's disturbing their sleep or what's not allowing them to fall asleep, help them with sleep hygiene, and then help them with natural supplements that can help them to sleep better. Some people need to calm down more, like they're anxious at night, their mind is racing, and others just have proper insomnia. They can't fall asleep. So we then supplement for them natural, either it will be a vitamin or a mineral, or it will be a herb, depending on their specific needs. And they sleep so much better. I had a patient who told me the other day, it was a weight loss case. This is so female specific. It was a patient who came in who needed to lose weight only on her breasts. She was absolutely in perfect shape everywhere else, but only needed to lose weight on her breasts. They were increasing in size. This is part of perimenopause for her. And so we treated her for perimenopause, and she, alhamdulillah, had lost a significant amount of weight. The heaviness was gone, breast tissue, within the first month of treatment. And then on her third visit, she likes to regularly have follow-ups with me. So on her third visit, we got to talking about her sleep. And she said, I've never slept my whole life. I just sleep for like 2 or 3 hours every night, and then I am up again. And because I don't sleep, I am productive in other things, like she's managing charity organizations and planning for the day ahead, planning her holidays and so on. So I said to her, it's not healthy for you to sleep only 2 or 3 hours a night. Let me help you. I will give you something today, a nutrient, and we'll look at treating you with some herbs as well to help your mind just relax a bit. So we started her on the treatment. The next morning, she messaged me to say, I slept for 10 hours in a row. That was the first time. And she's tried many sleeping tablets when she was younger. So it's really important to treat what's causing that patient to suffer from insomnia, and important to look at sleep as a lifestyle condition. And then also looking at what foods are they eating. We don't tell people, stop eating chicken curry and rice. We want you to eat more flavorful food. We want you to cook food with ghee. We just want to help you. Maybe there's a method of eating you need to follow for your body type. And also we advise patients, try and stay away from the unnatural foods or the processed foods, and eat everything that God gave you.
I love how you share these stories with us, and I wish you could share some more success stories of women that overcome weight gain through the homeopathic treatment. But we definitely know that works. And wow, having to lose weight on one specific area, that is definitely, something to admire. But let's look at how you address the emotional and psychological aspects of weight gain. in your approach of homeopathic treatment options?
So we also want to look at what are the emotions that patient is experiencing. So, I mean, we are human beings. We are built with emotion in us. Things affect us. If you're upset with somebody, what is your upset about? Are you angry? Are you disappointed? Are you hurt? That's what we ask patients. Those three emotions, anger, disappointment, and hurt, they all are upset with the person, but they are different emotions. So if a patient says to us, I am disappointed, when I give them choices, and if they tell me they are disappointed in their spouse or in what somebody has done to them more than being angry, then that patient often we see has a specific craving. So they would say, I feel like having samba chips. Why samba chips? There's no, in the repertoire of homeopathy, there is no line that says food and drink desires samba chips. But there is a line that says food and drink, the patient is craving salty foods. So that's what it would be. It would be salty foods, salty cravings. Or they would say, I don't have any thirst. I'm not thirsty. Or they're very thirsty. Or they're retaining water. Or they're adding salt to their food. Many people, before they even taste the food, they're adding salt to it. So in terms of their emotions, we look at using specific homeopathic medicines to help them manage those emotions better and help them manage whatever is causing that underlying stress. For example, just to give you another, so the salt craving would be something like Natma, the homeopathic remedy Natma. And that is also given to people who have disappointment in a loved one, or to somebody who has lost a member of their family, somebody close to them, in like tragically, a death in the family. And then you would have a different patient, which would need the remedy pulsatilla. Pulsatilla is made from a flower. Flowers are more emotional beings. So that patient would say, my craving is more, like we said, the butter bread. They look for rich foods, fresh cream, ice cream, sweet stuff, or savory, depending on what their preference is, and treat them specifically. And then also if it comes to like a big appetite, like we said, when the patient is suffering with high cortisol or the cortisol is depleted and their cravings and the appetite is increased from that, then we look at whether the patient is now insulin resistant. Like through COVID, when patients needed to breathe, when they couldn't breathe, they were given cortisone or cortisol or prednisone to help them breathe. They needed it at that time. But also it was a super stressful time for the whole world. So their cortisol was high. And now we have a whole influx of patients who have insulin resistance following COVID, and their cravings and their appetites are increased. But what can we do to help them is treat the insulin resistant and the high cortisol or the depleted cortisol more functionally. And for that, we use both homeopathy and herbal medicine. So I'm sure many of people have heard of things like ashwagandha or inositol. So each patient is treated individually. Not everybody is going to get ashwagandha and inositol, and not everybody is going to feel better on it. Some patients may do better on berberine. And how do we know which patient needs what? Is that they come in for a consultation and we tailor-make the treatment plan for that patient specifically.
I like the example you used earlier on, because when you're going to a doctor for weight gain, you're not going to bring, your partner, or your spouse, or your family with. But what is your advice on that? How well should your spouse know about your weight gain conditions, your emotions, your stress that's involved around that?
I think in the first visit, a lot of patients do better when they come in alone, because they need to understand first what's going on in their body, and they need to know this. I always say to my patients, you are taking care of everybody else in your house. But if you don't take care of yourself, then you're going to crash and burn, and then there'll be nobody to take care of everybody else. Yeah. So we first want to get that patient feeling better or understanding what's going on with their bodies. Yeah. And then I say to them, if you want me to explain it to your spouse, he's usually sitting in the waiting room, then let's bring him in and explain it to him. Yeah. Like I've had many females who are like fat shamed by their spouses. I don't understand why my wife can't lose weight. She hardly eats. I think she needs to go to the gym. Sure. So for this patient, often we see that they don't have motivation or willpower to go to the gym. They are not lazy. It's because they have a poor functioning thyroid gland. So they don't eat a lot. The thyroid patients, hypothyroidism, the patient often says, I forget to eat. That is the exact words. I forget to eat, but I still have a weight problem. So they're eating one meal a day, hardly anything, which is making the condition worse. So their obesity is increasing because they're not eating, they're hypocaloric. So calorie counting is a terrible idea for them. Intermittent fasting is a terrible idea for them. But they don't have energy to exercise. And if we treat the thyroid function and we improve their metabolism because we're improving what controls your body's entire metabolic processes, then they will tell you in a couple of weeks, in as much as 10 days, they will tell you, I have less brain fog, I feel less swollen, and I feel like I do have motivation and willpower and energy now to do more than my daily tasks. I can find and make the time to go to the gym. So yes, it is important for us to explain, especially when it comes to the spouse, and if it's a child that's coming to see us, then making the parent understand that this is not a fat shaming session, and we don't want to give this child an eating disorder. We want to help their body function better so that their body doesn't store weight as fast as it is, and they'll find naturally their weight will start to fall off. And we help them also with things like lunchbox ideas, and women who are working, we help them with what meals should they be preparing to take to work and keeping their family meals exactly the same. So it shouldn't be, you eating a boiled chicken and salad for supper, but the rest of your family is enjoying a good old steak or a mutton curry and rice. Everybody should eat the same thing.
You should see Dr. Raeesa's recipe book. It's very flavorful and very well said. There's no fat shaming when it does come to women losing weight and the family get involved. After the short break, we wrap up with advice for women when they feel frustrated and discouraged by their weight gain, and the homeopathic support, more just after the short break. Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum to this edition as we wrap up weight gain. And as I said, every 11 out of 10 people, women rather, talk about weight gain, and sometimes the spouses and the family also get involved. But realistically, it is an issue. It bothers us emotionally, physically, and it also touches our soul when it does, interact with our bodies in that way. So online, I have homeopathy Dr. Raeesa Aboobaker, who looks at a holistic approach in helping and assisting women, whether it is weight gain from their boobs in just one place to a 4-year-old trying to lose weight. Some success stories she shared with us today. So another aspect, and also don't forget to interact with us, tell us your weight gain story or weight loss story or struggling to lose weight story. It's definitely inspiring to our viewers, and also let us know what you want to hear on the next the Women's Wellness edition of Life Matters. So another topic of discussion, Dr. Raeesa, is aging women. Is there help for them trying to lose weight? And what support does homeopathy offer them? And are there solutions for aging women trying to lose weight?
So, in the recent months, I've seen that we are entering this phase where menopause or even reaching menarche, like when you get your first period, it's much earlier nowadays than it was in the past. I mean, we have kids as young as 8 and 9 coming in with irregular cycles because they've reached menarche quite early. And I think also it's important then to realize that if we're going to reach menarche early, then there's a chance that we may enter menopause earlier as well. And we see around the ages of 35 or so when a lot of patients start to come in with perimenopause, and understanding what perimenopause, they'll just say, I think I'm in menopause, or I think I'm perimenopausal. What are the symptoms that that patient experiences along with their weight gain? It's really because we are so in tune with our hormones as females. Our hormones can dictate whether we're going to have PMS symptoms that are aggressive and angry and irritable before our period, or are we going to be crying and weepy and depressed. Those are two completely different cases, but both are PMS symptoms. So I think the important thing to understand with perimenopause is that first, your progesterone goes down, like when you're passing the age of 35, but it shouldn't be that early, but that's what we're seeing now, that the progesterone starts to decrease, and then the patient starts suffering with symptoms like a weight gain and cravings and salty cravings and and weight gain on the hips, weight gain on the tummy, weight gain on the upper body. And if they're chronically stressed, then they're going to be eating up more of their progesterone to produce more cortisol to help them survive. And then we end up with patients now passing the perimenopausal stage, entering into menopause, which usually should be around the age of 50, where there's a decrease in estrogen. So estrogen, specifically estradiol, in females is responsible for our metabolism, helps regulate our metabolism, and it also helps regulate our body weight. So when we see menopausal women, we often see them starting with their body shape changing, where they lose muscle on their legs, they gain weight on the upper body. So like our patient who had weight gain on her breast tissue only, it's a sign of a change in estrogen in the body. And these patients will notice that they get heavier on the bust, or they can't control the bust size. They're changing bra size month to month. They start to develop back pain because of the heaviness on the breast. When it comes to specific areas of weight loss and how to treat these patients, you wouldn't think you have so many patients coming in with the same area being a problem. The upper body causes weight gain in patients who are insulin resistant and who have low progesterone and who have high cortisol. So all of their weight is usually sitting on the tire on their tummy, around their face, the back, and the neck. And when it comes to insulin resistance, it gets worse with age. So even if you didn't change your diet, it will get worse with age. It will definitely lead to diabetes when you are. That's why females become diabetic when they're 60 or 70 years old. So definitely look at hormones, and rapid weight gain is something we need to look at. Why does somebody gain so much of weight in a short period of time? What causes that? It's usually water retention from an imbalance in hormones. It's usually bloating around their tummy. We ask them, do you feel bloated where there's air in your tummy, or does your tummy just look big to you? Which one is it? And I feel like there's air in my tummy, or I suffer with lots of flatulence, I can't keep my wudu, or I'm burping a lot and I don't know how to control that. Then we look at gut health. So as for females, definitely menopause, perimenopause, making it more difficult.
Dr. Raeesa, we have to wrap up, and I want to look at women that are often frustrated and very discouraged by their weight gain, despite trying various diets and exercise programs and advice and listening to this one and that one. What advice would you give them?
I would say don't put your health on the back seat. You may not think there's something wrong, but usually with hormones, it's not you fall ill all of a sudden. It's a build up to things. If you suspect or you can see that you're gaining 1 kg a month over the last 3 months, before it turns into 30 kilos over 3 years, let's go and look at what are the potential causes. Ask questions to your family members. If you have insomnia in your family, go and check with your mom. If she had menopause early, ask her, when did you go through menopause? If she's on any medication, go and have a look at what medication she's taking, because if your mom has a thyroid dysfunction, it's very likely that you could also inherit that. If you have parents that are diabetic, or you as a parent are diabetic, then look at your kids as well. We often have patients coming in with severe insulin resistance, and then we ask them what are the meals like at home, and who else lives with you? That's a common question I ask. Who else lives with you in your house? And they say, okay, it's my husband and my 2 children. Then we ask about the children. What is their build like? What is their skin like? How is their concentration at school? So it's a whole lifestyle. It's not just about calorie counting. Calorie counting is out the door long ago, because there are many patients who have developed thyroid conditions from having too little calories in their diet. And also, we've all been down that road of weighing our food and counting how many grams of this and how many grams of that. And it becomes difficult because life is so fast-paced. So let's try and make it a lifestyle change. But remember that if you have an underlying condition, yes, the lifestyle change will make it easier. But if you don't treat the condition, it's going to be a lot harder for you. And there's a risk for it coming back in terms of weight gain. That's when we see these insulin-resistant patients say, I'm always dieting, and then when I stop the diet, I gain back everything I lost and more. So in terms of balancing hormones and how to treat your patient if they have an underlying condition, is try to improve the quality of the hormone as opposed to giving them more hormones.
Yeah.
So improving the quality will naturally improve the quantity or regulate the quantity. Insulin, you can't take insulin out of the body, but you can sensitize the cells to insulin so that you don't produce as much. So that's a nice way of doing it. Sensitize the cells to insulin. Don't just shut down the patient's appetite or stop their digestive system. There's so many new weight loss drugs on the market that do that. They slow down your digestive system. They cause stomach paralysis. But these are not long-term solutions. Once you start something like that and you find that you've lost 2 kilos and you're stuck and you stop it, you're going to gain back 6 kilos. And then it's more difficult to lose because you messed up your metabolism. All of these drugs, you have to remember when they're treating your appetite, or when we are like I've heard of doctors giving patients thyroid medication when they don't have thyroid problems. And then down the line, they develop a thyroid problem because the body understands what's going on inside. If you're giving it too much of one hormone, it's going to stop producing its own hormone. You can't be on the med forever. So it's important to look at root causes and look at safe treatments.
Dr. Raeesa, it definitely sounds that homeopathy can support women's overall well-being and empowerment, not just beyond, or rather just beyond the weight gain management. So Jazakallah khair to you, Dr. Raeesa Aboobaker, for sharing your valuable insights. We really appreciate your expertise today. And going forward, we hope to see you the next time and look at explaining what homeopathy is all about. Maybe we need that education session. So all the best till we chat again. Assalamu alaikum.
For having me. Assalamu alaikum
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That was Dr. Raeesa Aboobaker. Don't forget to connect with her as well. She does online consultant, and there's definitely help for your weight gain issue, as even if it's just something that you think there's no solution. Remember, weight gain is not just a physical issue, but an opportunity to explore our overall well-being. May the wisdom shared in this conversation inspire us to prioritize our health and seek holistic solutions. Thank you for tuning in to our Women's Wellness series. Join us next time. In the next show, we speak to ear, nose and throat specialist, Dr. Ramdani, on snoring and sleep apnea, vertigo, sinusitis, and hopefully we'll touch on tonsillitis and reflux as well. Until next time, stay blessed and connected. Thank you again for joining and tuning in. Join us next time for more insightful discussions from the rest of the Life Matters team. Wassalamu alaikum and goodbye for now.